Rainbow Six Siege, the multiplayer shooter born from the ashes of the cancelled Rainbow Six Patriots, is a combination of light tactical shooter and hero shooter, with each playable character being a member of the Rainbow Squad hailing from various different counter-terrorism units from around the world. Known as operators, each character also comes with its own set of equipment and special ability. These operators are split between attackers and defenders, but you probably already know this. Small maps, destructible environments, and almost a rock scissors paper design philosophy is at the core of Rainbow Six Siege. For all intents and purposes, this Rainbow Six Siege was not like any Rainbow Six you had seen prior, but despite its setup dipping into the toes of hero shooters, Siege managed to maintain a sense of somber seriousness that the franchise was mostly known for. Each operator hailed from real-life counter-terrorism entities, complete with the visual looks that kept it on brand. While yes, some of the abilities might have been a little bit out there, but not to the point where it felt silly or unrealistic. Loading up the game, you were greeted to a cold colour palette and foreboding music that pulsates throughout. Even in-game, the colour scheme was somewhat muted, somber, serious. It continued. There was a genuine sense of tension as you both prepared to either attack or defend. It was all very slick. Since then, Siege has changed in nearly every aspect. To their credit, Ubisoft did not panic during the early days of Siege's struggles. Initial reviews were a bit hit and miss, and issues affecting the game itself saw Ubisoft delay their content plans by a whole year.
Basically a 3-month period of time that we're going to be taking in order to fixing and repairing the game, as well as investing in core technologies and online techs to make sure that the game is as long-lasting as possible.
This was not a case of lazy development or being forced out the door, but a great example of a studio paying attention to player feedback and concerns. Reddit, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, they were all listened to. Ubisoft showed they cared, and they listened. Side note, I know, it's rare to hear anyone praise Ubisoft for anything on YouTube. With the problems fixed, mostly, Siege would grow, dip, rise, dip, and grow again. An esports scene would emerge, and the game's operators became, well, a bit comic booky. But what of the aesthetic? That Rainbow Six Siege brand that had always been so strong? Well, regardless of all the changes that Siege has went through, for better or worse, the visual brand has been in a steady decline. And it mostly comes down to one key thing: skins.
Big money! Big prizes! I love it!
Once a thing that was a luxury and then a plaything of talented modders is now a constant stream of revenue and a marketing tool. They've become a default addition to any multiplayer game, both before launch and after launch, and oddly, also in single player games. In the case of Siege, in its current state, it's built up a collection of skins that could be described as diverse. The days of Siege keeping in touch with its former aesthetic are well and truly over. Robots, zombies, cosplay, Rick and Morty, The Undertaker now runs side by side with a Gigan or a SAS unit. It's a complete annihilation of a focused tone, and it's all very funko pop. Siege has never really been a Rainbow Six game, and now Siege isn't really Siege, or at least the Siege that I and people have been playing for a long time would know. The lack of visual identity, the push towards faster paced, more aggressive gameplay, complete with the borderline sci-fi hero shooter abilities, and don't forget the Rick and Morty. The colour palette, the menu, the music, the immersion, it's been forced out like the last bit of toothpaste at the bottom of the tube. Once cold, Rainbow Six is now being usurped by an amalgamation of stuff, just a whole lot of stuff. And it kind of feels like Ubisoft have developed an obsession with Valorant, which is only going to get worse, mark my words. Side note, this was written before Rainbow Six Siege X leaks happened, and, well, yeah, you can kind of see them here. There's an argument to be made that this is the inevitable conclusion to breaking out to a wider audience. After all, Siege has changed not just visually, but also gameplay wise. Success of its esports scene has seemingly pushed Siege into a less expressive direction, more concerned with playability and balance. We've seen this with the countless map designs, nerfs, buffs to operators, and tweaks to the game. Like all games, things change, the player base changes, and so must the game, right? There's no illusion that Ubisoft need to keep money coming into Rainbow Six Siege. This is a game that's hitting 10 years old this year, but it does feel like Rainbow Six Siege's on-brand aesthetic has been sacrificed in favour of long-term success and health. Crossover skins, over-the-top look-at-me skins, dances to rub defeat into the enemy's faces, flashy gun cosmetics. It brings in the dollar, it appeals to the wider audience, but at what cost? I've had countless hours of fun with the game, witnessed it change for better or worse, becoming something else in the process, both thematically and mechanically. While it's good to see Siege continue to succeed, it's hard not to feel a tinge of sadness that the game's initial aesthetic and style has been discarded in order to appeal to the masses. And now, it kind of feels like any other multiplayer game, at least visually, aesthetically, maybe even spiritually. In short, Rainbow Six Siege sold out.